It's Friday, January 6th. Let's talk PlayStation. It's time for one of my favorite videos. I love filming this. So we've actually done this 4 years now in a row. I actually had to double check to make sure when we started doing this, but we started doing the predictions video for 2014. So it's time for the 2017 PlayStation prediction video. I'll give you 10 predictions that I think is going to happen to Sony and PlayStation throughout the year of 2017. Now, before we jump right into that, we have to go over last year's prediction video and see how well I did based on those predictions and kind of grade myself, if you will. As usual, like I mentioned, holiday weekend and everything, New Year's, Happy New Year's, everybody, all that jazz. But, you know, just still really not a whole lot going on within the video game industry. So there's not much news going on. There's one news story, but that's actually related to what all the prediction stuff. So I'll actually discuss that in a second. But yes, so let's go over some 2016 predictions. And if you want to jump right to the 2017, I'll put a timestamp right here. But here we go. So initially, we always start off with sales predictions. So back then, I predicted that PlayStation 4 would be at 53 million, PS3 would be at 88 million, and the Vita would be at 14.4 million. That's what I predicted at the beginning of 2016. At the end of 2016, the results are 53.4 million PlayStation 4s. Sony actually just recently announced this. That number is current right up to the end of the year and right up to January 1st for Asian territories, but 53.4 million, I was very, very accurate there. 86.69 million PlayStation 3s, that is in relation to VG Charts' number right there, so give or take 100,000 or so, but they've got to be fairly accurate considering Sony doesn't really sell that many PlayStation 3s anymore. And Vita is sitting at 14.7 million PlayStation Vitas, so again, fairly close, but Vita isn't really moving a whole lot of units as well. So yeah, I did relatively good there in terms of the sales predictions. I'm not going to front. And I also did very well the last time, too, I believe, for 2015. But anyway, my number 2 prediction was PS3 and Vita price cuts, both for as low as $150. So I've been, predicting this for, the past 3 years in a row now. I'm like, when is PS3 and Vita going to have a price cut? For the love of God, drop the price of these machines. Why are you not doing it? So I keep predicting it every single year. Once again, it did not happen. PlayStation 3 is still $200-something, I believe, for a 12 gigabyte unit. Same for PlayStation Vita, still around $200. It's floating around there. Just no official MSRP for any of these systems. I mean, you might find them on sale or something like that, but I'm going to more or less take the L on that one. Still did not happen whatsoever. Number 3, PlayStation VR price is $300. Will launch in May with about 20 games. So, was absolutely wrong about the price. Was a little bit higher. $400 for the core bundle, $500 for the launch bundle to include even extra move controllers on the camera. It did not launch in May, but it did launch with well over 20 games, so I got 0.3% of that right. I'll take it, or 30%, 33% of that right. I can't even math. Excuse me. I also have a little bit of a cough, so you'll have to bear with me. Number 4, PS4 Slim announced at E3. Was not announced at E3, but I would like to get a lot of credit for this one because when I made that prediction, and I very specifically remember this, I made that prediction saying, why is nobody talking about a PS4 Slim? There's no leaks, there's no nothing, the industry's not talking about it, no websites are writing about it, nobody is talking about the possibility of a PS4 Slim, so I said, it's got to happen. And sure enough, it did actually happen, much like Sony always does, which I was still shocked at the time that nobody was even considering that Sony was doing a PS4 Slim. In fact, a lot of people and publications were saying that Sony wasn't going to do a PS4 Slim, which I don't know how they came to that conclusion, considering they always do it. My number 5 prediction is a new God of War and Sony Bend game announced. Bend game is a new IP, both released in 2017. The new God of War was announced. Sony Bend's game was announced. It was a new IP. We did not get a release date for either of these. So what, 66% right there? I'll take it. Sony nabs another AAA third-party console exclusive. So this one, not necessarily right. So let me tell you why. Now, one thing I think a lot of people might initially jump at is, hey, Death Stranding was announced, and that is a AAA third-party exclusive. Can't really take that one. We already knew that it was going to happen as early as December 2015. Now, we didn't... Obviously, Death Stranding was announced at E3 2016, but in December 2015 is when Kojima Productions was announced, or sort of, went independent, and that's when Kojima even formally said, and we were working with PlayStation for a console exclusive. So that one isn't necessarily right. The other one is Spider-Man PlayStation 4, developed by Insomniac Games. That was also recently announced. but that is considered a second-party exclusive. Granted, it's AAA, but Sony is going to be publishing that game, so that's not really right as well. But I kind of, it's a toss-up. Maybe like 50% you can give me there. Number 7, I said name changes finally come. Unfortunately, I wasn't right about this one. However, I would also like to take a little bit of credit because it seems like we're getting very close. So at the very end of 2016, we got that rumor about a software development kit update, and it was specifically for Unreal Engine. It was the Unreal Engine SDK update that it kind of got, and there's sort of some patch notes in there and everything that was talking about how name changes might possibly be coming based on some sort of formatting and programming language that is changing with how the developer needs to approach a game. So it kind of makes us seem like name changes are being worked on and will be maybe relatively soon. So it's possible, but yeah, I was wrong. Number 8, PlayStation Now subscription price lowers, more games are added, Sony still won't talk numbers. So more games are absolutely added. PlayStation Now is up to like well over 400 games now, I believe, in North America, and I believe a little over 300 in Europe. Sony absolutely doesn't talk numbers about PlayStation Now. I mean, I feel like if the numbers were strong, they would talk about them. They've never once talked about how many people are subscribed to the service or anything like that whatsoever. So I got that right. What I didn't get right, because I'm not even entirely sure, because I guess I didn't realize how weird this would be to grade this, but I don't remember what the prices were back when I made the prediction. So I don't even really know if the price lowered. I think Sony ran a number of promotions for PlayStation Now throughout the year, where it was like as low as like $15 a month, but that was a bundled price where you had to buy the whole year, or you had to buy 3 months. And I don't even know what the going rate is now. Honestly, I didn't even really look into grading this, so excuse me. I don't have much time, so if you all want to really figure that one out, you can go look that up. But for the most part, I kind of got that right. Number 9, Sony skips Gamescom again, and they're at Paris Games Week and PSX still. So they did skip Gamescom, but they also skipped Paris Games Week. And yes, we did have another PSX. Number 10, Uncharted Golden Abyss and Killzone Mercenary come to PlayStation 4. Nope. All right, so that didn't happen, and the fact that it didn't happen in 2016 means it's probably not going to happen whatsoever. My original rationale was so many Vita games are going to PlayStation 4. Sony wants to make their money back on a lot of these games because clearly they did more than likely did not turn a profit on Vita. They were big budget games on a platform that had almost no numbers. So I thought, hey, what the hell? Maybe they'll port them over because they would certainly do pretty well on PS4. But if they haven't done it now, then they're probably not going to do it whatsoever. All right, so that was the result. I think I did kind of okay. As I often do, I think I do sort of adequate. It's not like I'm some sort of mind reader. I don't work at Sony, so, you know, got to give me some credit for the small little things I did get. But let's go into 2017, shall we? I feel like 2017 is going to be a very interesting year. And what I mean by that is I sort of have... I hate to say it because, you know, you guys know me. I'm a positive guy. I'm a half glass kind of full dude. But I kind of have some bad vibes for 2017. But we'll get into that in a second. So, or in a few minutes, however long this takes me to talk. Number 1, we'll go into our sales predictions. So, you know, currently there are the numbers. We just discussed that. I'm predicting PS4 by the end of 2017 is looking at about 70 million units. PS3 at 87 million units because they're just selling next to nothing now in terms of PS3. It's almost not even really worth predicting them at this point. They're probably going to cease, you know, manufacturing of PS3 relatively soon, if not in 2017, definitely 2018. Vita 16.2 million units, and we're actually going to include PlayStation VR because that's some very integral, important hardware for Sony. 6 million. That's kind of a shot in the dark. It's really hard to sort of judge where VR is going to be, but that's my shot in the dark. 6 million. I think, you know, where they're at right now, they're probably close to 1 million, or they're a little bit under 1 million. They announced 700,000 units something sold, and we're still waiting on a second shipment of units to North America. Yeah, it's really tough to gauge how well it's going to do. I don't know. So I think 6 million is being relatively conservative. You know, anything higher than like 10 million, I think is kind of crazy, but that's what I'm kind of guessing right now. If you look at the PS4, my PS4 prediction, it's lower. If you look over year sales, PS4 and even X1, while they are still out, they're still doing a higher rate of sale than the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. You can kind of look that it's finally starting to taper off a little bit, and that incline starting to diverge a little bit, and it's going to get to a point where those lines are going to meet. So the numbers are down for PS4, but 70 million is still a lot of systems. Number 2, PS4 and PS4 Pro price cut, down to an official MSRP of $250 and $350 respectively. Now you might be wondering why. You might consider PS4 Slim just came out and that came with a price drop at $300. PS4 Pro still relatively new with $400 price tag. So a couple of things behind this. One thing being with PS4 Slim, it's pretty obvious that the fact that how many retailers are bundling, games with the system and dropping it down to $250, some as low as Amazon had it at $212 at one point. It's like you can't even buy a PS4 Slim at $300 right now, which is its MSRP. It's always like $250 or lower. Clearly, some money can be shaved off of the system. Manufacturing for that system is only going to get cheaper, and because I feel PS4 sales, and I know Sony is thinking this too, they know PS4 sales are going to start slowing down, and they're going to want to keep them, alive and well. So why not do an official cut of $250? When you do an official cut of $250, that means those retailer sales are going to get even lower. Now, in terms of PS4 Pro, I think you're going to have your system look a little bit more attractive, because obviously holiday 2017 is when we're expecting Microsoft to announce Xbox Scorpio. We're not even relatively sure what Scorpio is at this point. We've never actually acknowledged this, but a lot of people are sometimes talking about how, and a lot of people feel that Scorpio might actually be an entirely new platform that will just be what we've always talked about, the forward compatibility. You'll still play Xbox One games, but it will be such a monumental leap that Microsoft will just call it something entirely different, and it will be considered well, at least Microsoft will consider it a generational leap. And depending on what Scorpio is, which it may very well be that, Sony's going to want to kind of take some of that crowd and showtime away from what Microsoft's going to be doing in holiday 2017 and put it back on their premium console, which is PS4 Pro. They don't want to look like the lesser unit, and obviously a number of discussions as well, how much is Scorpio going to cost, because realistically it's probably going to be well over $400 easily. I'd be shocked if they could get it at $400, but it would be it would be in Sony's best interest to make PS4 Pro look better in comparison, and what better way than to make it even more affordable than it kind of already is. Now, while we're on the topic of price cuts, let's go into my number 3 prediction, which is PlayStation VR will have either a price cut or a bundle that will include everything for $400. So I think, and this goes back to, how sales are kind of dwindling down, and Sony wants to keep their momentum going, and certainly they want to keep PlayStation VR momentum as well. It's going to be very important for Sony to do this right. VR is entirely new for them. They believe in it. They spent a lot of R&D into this, and the big thing is getting people to actually buy PlayStation VR, and therefore having all those people out there. Then developers can confidently make VR games and sell those units, and then developers can live comfortably making VR games and not, lose money making these games. So what better way than to make VR a more enticing buy-in? I think it will be a sort of a tough spot for a lot of people to swallow that pill of spending how much money it requires for PlayStation VR. And so I think at some point in 2017, probably on the later half for sure, because it would be kind of crazy to do it so early. But certainly, maybe fall, certainly I think around holiday 2017, you could see PlayStation VR either drop price for its, the core bundle going down to $350, or just keeping the $400 price tag for the core bundle but not making it core anymore. Just actually include that camera or include a game or something, or make it a little bit more enticing. Either of those options I think are going to happen. Stop right there. Everyone, it is currently 2 in the morning as I edit this Let's Talk PlayStation, and I'm kind of going through it and I'm realizing, my number 4 prediction's kind of missing. So when I start playing this again, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, and here's my number 5 prediction. And see, I'm sitting here editing this and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, 4 comes before 5. Where's 4? So I thought I'd add in my 4th prediction real quick, just kind of on the side. So this past year, Sony did PS2 classics on PlayStation 4. They just kind of had they're just kind of called PS2 games. They're, I always quote them as the premium PS2 games because they added trophy support to them. So my number 4 prediction is that they actually add PS1 games in kind of the same exact manner, where they're still PS1 games, completely emulated, completely, still the PlayStation 1 game from the ground up. But much like that patent that Sony enforced in the PS2 games on PS4, these PS1 games do have trophy support as well. And it would be sort of a slow, sort of out of left field rollout where they kind of just show up on the store, and it's just a handful of games, and periodically they show up on weekly releases, much like the PS2 games currently. So that's my number 4 prediction. Anyway, here's number 5. Number 5, Sucker Punch announces a new game at E3. It's a new IP, but it is open world, and it's slated for 2018. So it's been a while for Sucker Punch. They've been developing. They've been hard at work on their game. We don't necessarily know what it is, but obviously they love their open world stuff. I think it's going to be open world. They'll stick to their roots. But at the same time, I think they're going to do a new IP. It's kind of time for them. They've done how many Infamous games now since the PlayStation 3? They did their, sort of obligatory Infamous game on PlayStation 4, and they even did a, standalone little piece of content with Infamous First Light. I think they're ready to kind of move on from that franchise, and there's really not much else to add. I think that's what's going to happen. E3 seems like a pretty great place to do it. Number 6. Now, number 6 is actually 4 predictions, but I'm so confident that all 4 of these things are going to happen, and they're so similar too, that I just roll them all into one. And this is actually what we were talking about last week. God of War, Detroit Become Human, Days Gone, and Dreams all delayed, or they slip into 2018. So either one of those. Now, I'm not entirely sure if all 4 of these games will slip in 2018. I think if they do, Sony's in a really bad spot, and they're going to look like they're going to look like shit throughout all of 2017 to have 4 of their major first-party games slip into 2018. So I'm hoping 1 or 2 of these, will release in 2017. But if, say, that happens, I'm saying that they're going to announce a date for one of those games, and that it's going to get delayed. So even if they release into 2017, I think they're going to have 1 or 2 delays up until when they release inside the year of 2017. And certainly for, again, however applicable, whatever doesn't hit 2018, it doesn't hit 2018. I'm pretty sure all 4 of those are going to happen at one point or another. Sony has a real tough time with this. Every fucking publisher has a really tough time with this. They can't hit their dates. They don't even like announcing dates anymore because they know it's tough to stick to it. I think that trend's going to continue. Number 7, PSN name changes. This is why I'm sticking with PSN name changes, because of that little hint we got just recently from what we were just talking about. Apparently it is kind of in the works in some way, shape, or form, and that's at least what we're being hinted at. I think Sony has finally figured it out. The pressure has finally kicked in. I think my prediction was just a little too early last year, so I think now is the time. Hopefully it comes in 2017. Number 8, I wanted to make a prediction for PlayStation Vita. I really did, but the problem is I don't think anything's going to happen significantly for Vita, so that's my prediction. Absolutely fucking nothing happens for PlayStation Vita. And I'm not even talking a negative thing. I just think it's going to be another year of PlayStation Vita. Sony doesn't talk about it at trade shows. Obviously no AAA games come out for it. It gets its steady release of independent games, smartphone ports, things like that, developers that can live comfortably on that system, but it's just going to kind of live in the shadow as it always has. I don't even think there's going to be bad news in terms of Sony stops manufacturing it or stops shipping it to North America or something. If anything, I'd say that's 2018 is more reasonable for when that sort of stuff starts to happen, but I think 2017 is just going to be a normal year. That might be hard to grade by the end of 2017, but that's just the way I feel. I wanted to include a Vita prediction, but nothing cool is going to happen for it, clearly, and I don't think it's time yet for the bad stuff. Number 9, remasters or collections ports for the Resistance franchise or MotorStorm or Infamous or all of them, obviously. I'm not going to say all of them are going to happen because I really don't think that will happen, but I think at some point it's possible for any of those 3 franchises. If there's one thing Sony has demonstrated the last 10 years, they love their remasters, they love their ports, they love making their games available everywhere. It's already happening with a bunch of PlayStation 3 games that are now on PS4, and it's kind of a no-brainer for these games. Certainly Resistance, certainly Infamous. I'd love MotorStorm, but I think that one, it probably is the least likely, but yeah. Number 10, my last prediction. Knack 2, it releases at a budget price, and people still kind of really don't like it, and it kind of sucks and doesn't really review all that well. I'll always say I think the game's actually decent / mediocre, but I know this game's going to come out. It's not going to do that well, and I think Sony kind of wants people to at least give it a shot and to kind of subconsciously ease people and reviewers into the fact that the game will release it, say if they release the game at a budget price of say $40, $30, I would assume that Sony wants people to subconsciously kind of take that in mind when Knack 2 releases, and that'll hopefully give it sort of a better impression on people. So I feel like that they'll release it at a lower price point. I don't think you can get away with releasing it at $60, especially since people already are cautiously pessimistic about the game. And I am kind of the same. I just don't really think it's going to go that well. I actually had a bonus prediction. I didn't really want to include this as a main prediction because it's kind of bullshit. I just think something bad's going to happen, man. I don't know why. I just think it's going to be kind of a tough year for Sony. And some of my predictions are kind of like not all that great. A bunch of price cuts to keep themselves afloat. A lot of their games are either going to get delayed or pushed into 2018. Nothing cool is going to happen for Vita. I just think it's getting to that point where there's fatigue for a lot of people, and some people are starting to get frustrated with how Sony sort of keeps either delaying their games or maybe they do some sort of really bad business practice with PlayStation Plus again. I don't know. I just got bad vibes for 2017, but I'm hoping it turns out okay. That's my sort of like bonus, we'll see what happens prediction. So that's it, man. Holy gosh, I gotta keep checking the time to make sure my camera doesn't shut off because it only records in 11-minute intervals, so sometimes I'll record and then it just like cuts off on me. I'm like, god damn it. Keep in mind, going back to the grading portion of the video, if there is something I missed or messed up, or there was some sort of inaccuracy, just let me know. I very well could have messed something up because sometimes those things happen. Oh shit, what was it I was going to say? Oh, it's a new year. So, obviously, everything's completely different now. We're 2017 people now. We gotta be progressive. We gotta be new. We gotta be different. And clearly, the past, about 3-4 months, because we still haven't had a ride on gaming for a very long time, videos have been particularly slow. Oh, I just moved my TV because my chair just pushed all the way back. It's on a swivel. It can go a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit handy. Anyway, because the videos have been a little slow, I apologize for that. But what I'm asking you guys is, what would you like to see in 2017? You know, what things do I do on this channel that you'd like to see more of? What things do we currently do that you'd like to see less of? Which really, there's only 2 things we do at this point: Let's Plays and Let's Talk PlayStation. It's a genuine question, so let me know what you'd like to see more of, and I will thoroughly read everything you have to say about me, even if it's not particularly good. That's fine too. If you don't like the way I look, you can tell me that. That's fine. Just keep in mind, if there is anything wrong with my face, I don't really plan on fixing it because I don't have any money for plastic surgery, and I don't really have any great interest for getting plastic surgery, so you're kind of out of luck there. But anything in terms of videos, I'm all down for. So let me know. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm R.I.P, but I can thank you all so much for talking with me, and I'll see you guys next Friday.